I've always felt like a prisoner in my own home. My parents are obsessed with how we appear to others. They never cared much about me, only how I reflected on them. They act like they love me, but it's always for show, to maintain their perfect image. Growing up, I was constantly told what to do, how to speak, how to act. I didn't have a voice. Every move I made had to be perfect in their eyes. It's exhausting. The older I got, the more I resented them for controlling my every step. I wanted freedom. When I was younger, I thought maybe things would change. Then Nikki was born. She was cute, smart, and instantly became the center of my parents' attention. I thought that might give me the space I needed. I started to feel distant from them. Finally, I thought I could live my life on my own terms. But no, their obsession with appearances never faded. Instead, it shifted. It wasn't just about how they looked now, but also how Nikki's success could reflect on them. Nothing really changed. I still felt like a stranger in my own home. I often dreamed of running away, of finding a life where I wasn't controlled. I thought of leaving home as soon as possible. But then came the moment I realized I could escape, when I decided to get a job. I thought that was it, the opportunity I had been waiting for. But instead of supporting my decision, my father stunned me. "You're going to university," he said, almost as if he had already planned it. I couldn't believe it. All I wanted was to leave and be free, but my father had other plans. He always had plans for me. "Why university?" I asked, hoping there was a reason beyond his usual control. "You need a proper education to marry into a good family," he replied coldly. That was it. I knew then that it was never about my future. It was about his. They were using me to make their lives easier through marriage, through a well-placed match. They were always more concerned about others' opinions than my happiness. I argued that I wanted to be independent, but my father just laughed. "Will you pay for your own move-out costs?" he asked, knowing full well I didn't have enough money. I had no way out. I had no choice but to comply. My dream of leaving was shattered. But there was a small silver lining. At least I could go to university without worrying about tuition. It wasn't much, but it was a small win. Still, it wasn't real freedom. I had to contribute to the household, work part-time, and give my parents the money I earned. It wasn't much, but it was something I had to do. University became just another prison. I wasn't studying for myself. I was doing it because they demanded it. I was stuck again. The struggle continued. My parents' expectations didn't lessen. They wanted me to earn money for them, but they wouldn't let me live my own life. I worked part-time to cover my living expenses, but it wasn't enough. My life became a constant juggling act between school and work. My father didn't understand that I wanted to focus on my studies. He only cared about money, so he made sure I contributed to the household. I spent sleepless nights trying to make ends meet, working harder and harder. All of it felt like a trap, but I had to keep going. There was no other option. I never stopped dreaming of the day I could finally leave. That day came when I graduated from university and received a job offer. I thought it was my chance to escape, to finally live my life on my own terms. I told my father about the offer, expecting him to be proud. But instead, he shocked me again. "You can take the job, but you're not living alone," he declared. I couldn't understand it. What difference would it make? I had my own job now. I thought it was my time to be free, but once again, my father crushed my dreams. My father didn't care about my job or my future. All he cared about was marriage. "What if you end up with a strange man?" he asked, like he was trying to control every part of my life. He demanded that I stay at home until I got married. "You'll stay here until then. No exceptions." His words felt like chains, I was done. I tried to argue, but it was useless. I had worked my whole life to be independent, but now my father was stopping me at every turn. It felt like he was deciding my entire future. Then, something unexpected happened. My father retired, claiming it was due to back pain. But I knew the truth. He didn't want to work anymore. He wanted to rely on me. He expected me to support him. I felt trapped. I thought about cutting ties with my family, leaving them all behind. But the truth is, you can't just cut off family. No matter how much I hated it, my parents were still my parents. I couldn't ignore them completely. So, I tried to figure out how to leave while still taking care of them. It wasn't easy. Then, Nikki announced she had been accepted into her dream school. I was happy for her, but my father's response was what really hit me. "You'll pay for Nikki's college expenses, right?" He said it as if it was my responsibility. I had been working so hard, but all my money went to my parents. Now, I had to pay for Nikki's tuition too. The weight of everything was becoming too much. I was tired of being the one who carried the burden, but I couldn't say no. If I didn't pay, Nikki wouldn't be able to go to school. The pressure was unbearable. I couldn't take it anymore. I worked harder than ever, but I was losing myself in the process. Exhaustion took its toll, and one day I left my wallet at home. When I realized, I panicked. I called home and Nikki said she would bring it to me. When she arrived, I checked my wallet nervously. Everything seemed okay, except I noticed something strange. My company card was missing. It didn't seem like a big deal at first, but then I remembered something. I had given my wallet to Nikki that day. Had she used my card? The thought gnawed at me. A few weeks later, my suspicions were confirmed. My colleague Judy pulled me aside and asked about the company card. Apparently, it had been used to buy water at a deli. I froze. I remembered the day Nikki had borrowed my wallet. It was the only time anyone else had access to my card. I felt a wave of panic. Could Nikki have used it? Judy showed me the transaction, and the date matched the day I had forgotten my wallet. My heart raced. I had to confront Nikki. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I had to get answers. When I finally confronted Nikki, she acted like it was no big deal. She had used my card without asking, but she didn't seem to care. "It's just a card. We're family," she said, as if that made it okay. But it wasn't okay. I was furious. Nikki had been pretending to be innocent for years, but now I saw the truth. She didn't care about anyone but herself. I had always tried to protect her, but now I realized she was just using me, just like my parents. The anger inside me grew. How could I have been so blind? As the days passed, I started to feel the weight of everything I had endured. I had spent my whole life trying to please my parents, trying to protect Nikki, but it was all for nothing. My family didn't care about me. They only cared about what I could do for them. The realization was crushing, but it also set me free. I didn't need their approval anymore. I didn't need their permission. I had my own life to live. I had Ken, and we were planning our future together. I was finally starting to feel like I had a life of my own. Ken had been my rock throughout everything. When he proposed, it felt like the escape I had been waiting for. I was ready to leave everything behind. I moved out of my parents' house and started a new life with him. But even then, I couldn't escape the consequences of my family's actions. Nikki caused a scene at my work, demanding money for her tuition, even though I had already paid. The nerve of her. But I wasn't going to back down. I had made it clear I was done with her games. I wasn't her safety net anymore. After the chaos, I finally found peace. My parents moved away, trying to escape their mistakes, but it didn't matter to me anymore. I had my life back. Ken and I were happy, and I was finally free. My career was going well, and I had a sense of purpose I had never known before. My family's drama was no longer my problem. I was starting fresh, and for the first time in years, I felt truly free. The future was mine to shape, and nothing could hold me back now.